my side?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
Says you're live.
Or let me look, I'll put you on speaker.
Yeah, that's fine. You guys are on camera, it's live. Just so you know.
Yeah, that's good. Are you? Good. Can I get the reference you gave me yesterday?
Oh, the LBD stuff?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Uh-huh.
And then I'll get that to everybody. I did not get a chance to,
Oh, okay.
I shot a note to Nancy.
Do you want me to print off some copies if I have some time of the actual policies? They can go out. It's probably.
That's a waste of
Okay.
resources. We can go out and get it.
Okay.
I just need the list, so that's something we can discuss.
Here, I'll write it down on this.
I'm going to YouTube, sorry.
Okay, no, you're fine. If you want coffee, Beth, I made sure there was water in the Keurig and help get a mug on the far left and
Thank you.
I did bring mine just in case, but I can save that for work.
So I
Okay.
can see you, is there just one person? There goes Beth walking to,
Yep, and Steve's here.
yep.
And does it have Steve on the right or Steve on the left?
She's on the right. It's always,
Okay, so it's like a mirror on this. Okay.
yep, and what you'll see too, so okay, I can't hear you, so you are live and I can hear you.
Okay.
Because here's the deal, it's delayed about 4 seconds.
Okay.
That, you are live, so people should talk about things.
Okay. All right, and then what to end is just the end stream?
Yep.
Okay, excellent, got it.
My apologies.
No, it's good, I'm glad I called.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, happy moving. Okay, take care, bye. We are live and it does pick up sound regardless, so we just need to know that.
Appreciate it. So, basically, I'm just gonna let, I'm not studying them review these and then we'll establish them.
Or you could say that, it'll be on the August, I don't know if it's in those, just signature, yeah. Or you could email them that too.
For the charter?
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're gonna have, gotta go.
Yeah, but I also want to, I want to have, let me grab my coffee.
Oops.
Whoops. Beth and Steve are in there, but just a heads up.
So camera and
You're here on the end, yeah.
just me. Is this the meeting before the meeting? Thank you.
Maisie, she's a boxer.
Maisie?
Oh, boxer is supposed to be great, yeah.
Maisie, how old is she?
I don't know.
Is she a rescue? I
Yeah,
mean, she's not a puppy.
no, she looks like she's about 2, if you might guess.
Oh. Maisie. Oh, he's got something else up on there, so I don't have to worry about running the computer.
No, in fact, we could turn that off.
Turn what off?
I'm gonna turn off till he's ready to do that.
Oh. Yeah, because otherwise it'll go off just about the time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Maisie.
Frank, do you want to start that table? No. So we can either do a separate, if you want a separate table, you can, or you can sit down here.
I don't know, not too close.
Yeah. Could I get cookies today?
You do.
Sweet deal, okay.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm good on cookies. Although, you know, these days it gets to be about 3 or 4, and if there's chocolate or cookies, it's like hard to resist.
How's that fair? You guys get behind the cameras and we're.
Yep.
Yes.
We get the same line.
Well, at least there's no, like little pea shooters where, you know, the interaction is.
Yeah.
Right, I like that answer. Exactly.
Kelly, so do I need to turn the camera then if somebody goes over there?
The only time you need to, pan the camera over is when Steve is showing like the reintegration.
Okay, okay.
And are you presenting some stuff too?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll just bring the
On the-
board over when it's time.
Yeah.
And just so you know, Del, we're live right now, so when we talk, I just, little heads up.
All right, thanks.
So people say something.
Oh, what if we do this? Can we do this?
So I had it in
Oh.
November, then I went to San Diego. And some Chinese came over, I'm sure, I ran.
I just know we kind of laughed because
To
when we
China.
thought, when we looked at how many
That's
were
where it
connected,
came
it's
from.
usually
Right
half the
there.
parents of the staff and us watching what we were doing. Like, well,
Are there
You ever ride your bike, Chris?
Jill, do you want
significantly more?
is anybody else actually
Wanna
watching
start?
this?
Not recently. Last week or two?
In front of
No?
you.
Okay.
Okay. thanks.
Thought I saw you.
Bicycle or motorcycle?
Bicycle.
And did I see no small sports? For your
Well, I
free?
haven't heard anything about ice hockey yet.
Okay.
Mountain West just canceled fall sports and took care of women's soccer.
Okay.
Big 12's playing football.
The, our conference postponed all winter stuff until January.
Okay.
Don't know what that means yet. Nobody told me.
I don't think anybody does. Well, Chris, what's been the biggest impact in your household or your place of?
It hasn't been that bad. I mean, we've just been outside a lot,
Okay.
doing lots of adventures. You know, we're just taking whatever precautions we can, but it hasn't really, I mean, it's definitely limited the amount of like hospitality that we typically would have people into our home and have shared meals a lot, multiple times a month, probably at least once or twice a week. That's not been happening.
Well, what's your understanding? So weddings, weddings and large reunions were kind of the first groups that kind of say we just can't do this. So if I said I would like to get married at your church, what do the guidelines allow you to do or say to that couple that says I'd like to get married? So if you're outside, is this a number of 50, 75? Or
I
what
don't
would
think
that?
there's a limit outside.
Okay.
I think
so
inside we have a space issue because our building isn't that huge.
Right.
If we wanted to.
So then it's half of the capacity?
Well, it
Or
would
what-
also depend on like family groups, like if you've got households, you know, who've been isolating under the same roof, they can all lump together.
Sure.
So that's been happening in churches.
So the family, the tribe can clump.
Yep, and then 6 feet over, there's another clump.
Yeah.
That's probably what would happen.
That's what we did in our dining halls, basically.
Yeah.
is Walk a 6-foot stick between all the chairs or the tables, and then. But that definitely changed the capacity
No, I bet.
topic in terms of.
Yeah, we'll face that in September when we start meeting back inside.
Yeah.
We have a nice piece of property adjacent to our building that we've been meeting out.
Yeah, you have picnic tables, fire pits, all kinds of cool stuff. That's wonderful.
There used to be an old cabin there that was built in 1915 and it burned down. And that was our youth house. That was where our youth used to be. And that was a sad night. when that burned down.
Oh, yeah.
I just talked to her yesterday, or 2 days.
Welcome.
See, I was doing this today.
There,
You got 10 minutes to spare.
Actually, I think that's a little bit well.
How are you doing?
It is.
6 o'clock right
It
now.
is 6 o'clock right now. We got everybody? Okay. You get this open.
Yeah. Highlighted the minutes. Raise the right at 6.
Okay. Everybody's ready. We can call this meeting to order. I'll give a couple minutes. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. He's over here. No English. I know. You're welcome.
Yes, please.
There we go. All right. Got everybody? Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the agenda. I'll second that.
Austin,
Aye.
Dottie. Aye. Graver.
Aye.
Huber.
Aye.
Lecky.
And did we have any public comment?
No.
And because there is no district and community spotlight. Consent calendar, and so we have our information items.
All right, you gotta go to the consent calendar.
We need a motion
Yes.
for consent.
I need a motion to approve the consent calendar. Thank you.
So moved.
Second?
Austin,
Aye.
Dottie. Aye. Graver.
Aye.
Huber.
Aye.
Lecky. Aye.
I put that right in with the approval of the agenda. Okay. Now, I'm so excited to get to the information items.
Here we go.
All
I was
right.
excited to be able to get together with you guys and be able to share this. You know, it's been a long few months for a wide variety of reasons. And it's our last day we had with kids was Friday the 13th in March. And so here we are, you know, and what we thought was true about COVID-19 on March 17th isn't necessarily the case today. And so we started preparing for things, and we're finding out that transmission is different, how long it lasts. I mean, it just goes on and on. And so when we were working on these plans, we came up with these wonderful plans, and then things would shift, or cases would go up and cases would go down. Lately, I went to a meeting yesterday, and there were they have a 2-week rolling average that they keep, and we were at 44, now we're at 33 of cases that are active right now, and hopefully that number will continue to decrease. But we've had a lot. Dale put together a really neat chart, the one I think I sent to you guys. If I did, they kind of show you the overall numbers. And what's interesting is the county has not been doing that, but Dale did, and it was a neat thing. So ideally, we would be opening up in phase 4 and be ready to roll. And in fact, it was a month ago. We were saying, you know, when we first got this, we'll probably open up to phase 4. And by the end of our conversation, we were talking phase 2. Because when we started looking at the numbers. And so what I'm going to do is go through the reintegration plan, talk to you a little bit about our plan. I've got what that looks like for the first few days. I'll pass out to you. I'll pass it out now. I know you'll do what I do. You start going, and so we'll get there. But a little bit of numbers. You guys hammer me with questions. But Dale's also going to spend a little time talking about the staffing portion, because you know we are student focused. It's students first. But I got to tell you, we got some wonderful people. That we have some people that may be afraid, that may have compromising health situations, all that stuff. And so Dale's just done a beautiful job of coming through with surveys of our staff lead, with being able to see what FMLA says about it, what we can do about it, all those things, and that we're working on, and staffing this whole thing. And so when I finish up, I'll turn over to Dale, and then he'll answer the real questions you have on that. Very good. But if you've had an opportunity to click on our website, we have a school reintegration plan. Phase 1 is something I pray we never get to. That's pretty much shutting everything down but digital. I mean, we don't even have our special needs or anybody else come in. And you know, when I look back to March 13th, when we shut that baby down, we had what, 7 cases? And everything was digital. We didn't even bring it, but we didn't know what we were dealing with either. We thought, well, surely this virus is laying around on our tables and everything else, but we're learning different as we go. And so that's what that looks like. It's all remote learning. Physical environment will be home, activities none, transportation none, visitors none. We're just shut. Phase 2, we're kind of opening it at a phase 2 plus. And and these phases were all put together. Tina led a committee of people, and Dale was on this committee. Actually, Tina and Dale together with teachers, with parents, with administrators on talking this through and what these phases look like. So that's how these phases were developed. And so I really appreciate them working on that, and the parents, the time they put in on it, and our faculty, it was good. And so you can see what we're doing, health precautions. One of the things that we'll be putting together is a little magnet that we're asking our parents to help us with kids before they come. Make sure that they're asking the questions, how you feeling today, doing the temperature, doing the whole thing, and help us out with that. If you'll notice, when you come into our building, you'll see some QAR codes, district or faculty. It's just there's about 3 different categories. You can click on that with your phone, just open your camera, it'll bring it up. Or now it's kind of permanently on mine, and you answer questions about, that way number 1, we know who's been in, number 2, we know whether you said you're healthy or not. And if you've got 2 or more of those items, you get out of here. We don't want to take a chance. And so in a way that's what we're doing with our students as well as our faculty on this thing. So we'll have all the signage, those type of things up. Instruction, it'll be in-person learning for identified significantly impacted learners, and actually that's expanded just a little bit. I'll tell you how that works. Significantly impacted learners, we know we look at our special needs students, 504s, kids that we know are way behind, but it also we're looking at people who are what's the word, Dale? Workers, essential workers? Yeah, thank you. And just draw a big blank. Anyway, that they, and for us, that would be all our faculty kids. That would be, our police officers' kids, our firemen's kids, people that are running important operations. And so that would actually put a lot of kids back in. In fact, our fear is it might leave about 3 kids out. And so we're considering that a little bit, how we work with that. And in our elementary principals the other day, we were talking just about that. So, but that isn't really going to be a problem the way we're opening with the soft opening, which we'll hit here shortly. Our physical learning environment, we've cohorted everything and try to make it as small as groups that don't cross as much as possible with teachers or with students. At the middle school, we've cohorted everything. At the elementary, high school is a little more difficult, but you notice we've changed the schedule some. If you had a chance to look at that and be able to, it's different. It's all I say. It's not something we probably choose outright, but under the circumstances, it's probably the right thing to do. And that helps us deal with the transportation. And with transportation, we know that we have to have some distancing. And if they're in the same family, fine, cram them together. We'll take all the twins' kids and shove them together. And we were actually didn't have enough buses, we believe, to be able to even transport in town like we always have. Jim fixed that. We're going to be able to do that, and it'll be some different pickups, but we'll be able to get there. So transportation, we're picking all the elementary up, and then we'll come back at secondary, or middle of high school, and so they'll, our elementary begin around 7:45, high school, middle school around 9. They're going to get around 2, then the elementary later. And so it's not ideal, but it helps us be able to transport kids. Otherwise, we kind of be out of luck. Corbin, you have a question?
Yeah, well, just curious about the real number of the teachers' kids or staff of these kids. I mean, is that 50? Is it 150? Is it?
I don't know. We know it's a lot. Okay. I mean, as I go down the hallway and I know the ones that have kids.
Sure.
I guess since he asked a question, I have to ask a question. I've been writing a couple down. So the sign-in that you talked about, is that just for the faculty, or are the kids going to have that as well?
That's for the faculty. We're asking parents, we're asking the parents to help us with the other.
Okay.
And that's in 2, 3, 4. We just, we can't have them sending them sick. If they've got any kind of temperature at all, we really can't have here. We got to do cough, they got headaches, keep them home. Because when we cohort it, you have a kid gets it, or false positive or anything like that. Now you've got a group going home and staying there for 14 days, and now they're working online. But it's not the same as being there, and so we really want to avoid that. The chances of us having that happen in one of our classes are probably about 99%. It just is, and we'll deal with that. We just don't want to shut a school down if we can avoid it.
So, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Please do.
Is along the same question. So I know we're asking parents to assist with that. Are we having any type of checks as the kids come in?
Yeah, keeping our eyes on them really well. And to be able to take a couple thousand kids' temperatures in the morning is pretty tough.
Exactly.
And sure, we'd like to, but it isn't realistic. And it's probably a good thing I'm not in high school. All of a sudden, my mom's taking my temperature because I don't want to go to school that day, and it's 197 because I accidentally heated it up too much. But it's one of those things where we're asking for help on that.
Okay.
And we really are counting on a partnership with this thing and get it. And same with our staff league. We're recruiting as much as we can guest teachers because we know that we do have a lot of parents in particular, or we have other people who may be ill, and we need to be able to go. That's a hard question too. How do you co-work with the sub? Well, we do the best we can and try to keep them, where they need to be. But all those things are just difficult, but we know we're going to have to try to do it and try to keep where it's supposed to be. Our significantly impacted learners, we'll have our kids that are like in the PLACE program. They really won't be starting the way I sent out to you guys. Will be starting those first 2 weeks. They're going to be here and rolling with that. If it's moderate, we won't.
Is there a number range for, how much that population is or represents?
We're still kind of finding that out. We found out like our AN kids, almost all of them are staying home. Okay, so if that's the case, maybe we can grab those paras and move over. And so our elementary principals, one of the things they're asking me is they have some paras they'd like to have filled. And normally we just go fill those right now, but we aren't sure where our numbers are, so we don't want to overhire, especially in this budget year. We're going to be 1.6 million down. And so we're really being careful with that. We're right on the edge of being able to go ahead and hire if we need to hire, but we're still working on those numbers. And I'm going to share with you guys briefly what we had registered, the 6th, and surprisingly, the numbers we had registered, the 6th, are about the same as we'd have registered on registration day the last couple years. But it's because we have so many that wait till the day or two before or the day. And here we go. And so that's not helpful for us because we're trying to figure out, because when we have teachers who have a health condition that really makes it not safe for them to be here, we're not going to make them be here. And Dale will talk a little more about that, how that works. But they'll be assigned to our virtual learning option and being able to work that way. And so, and we may have enough virtual that we may need to assign a couple people that aren't health impaired that need to do that, or maybe we're just afraid. And people have different ranges of fear in this thing, and that's just the reality of it. You can't make anybody feel bad about it. It's just the way it is. And so that's where we are with the health procedures, the type of instruction you guys kind of seen, the transportation, the food service will be in the classrooms for the elementary, kind of a grab-and-go breakfast as they come in, and be able to go to the classrooms. We're going to keep them in the classrooms for the most part, the elementary and middle school. And really, the high school will have a passing time, but that's going to be quick. We've really limited the passing time by the way we've scheduled, and that's the tough part. I've got a stupid little song I'm doing tomorrow that it's Sweet Caroline, but I've changed the words, but about holding hands, touching hands, reaching out, not allowed. And high school kids, they're wonderful and they're invincible. And so, this would never touch me. And so it's going to be a challenge. But we're going to ask them to do the best they can with that. And a lot of times kids will live up to your expectations, high or low. And we have high expectations. I believe most of them will be there. And so if we have families that are home that want to be having meals, maybe we have even a free and reduced family that's chosen to stay at home. They can come get the meals. The delivery would be available if they couldn't swing by and get it. But we'll have food available. As you guys know, with our athletics and our activities, you saw what happened. Almost everything moved to March except for cross country, softball, and golf. And they were going to do golf, but Brian made a football. And so he has a lot of pull. And so we're doing golf. And I'm surprised. Brian, did you see your golf numbers shoot up?
No.
I was surprised. I just figured, okay, now you're going to have 70 kids trying for golf.
I have one late tryout that's coming from another sport that's been postponed.
Okay. Boy, that surprises me. Because I don't even play golf. I probably play golf, not well. But and so at level 2, no additional activities that we have. Any of the clubs or activities we're just not doing during this time. Visitors or access to the building, we're not renting out our facilities right now. We're just not. And where it's central personnel, that building, visitors will be asked to remain in the vehicles for the most part. We'll have the vestibules, which is nice if they come up. So we'll be able to take care of some things that way. They're almost done, by the way. So we're, except for the bulletproof glass. And they got to come back and put that in, put regular glass. But we figure if we put a sign up on them that says bulletproof, no one will shoot at it. And so we'll be good. But so that's the visitor situation. We're just really, so for example, Triple E, with our environmental science, with our elementary. I'm excited about doing that. That'll likely happen at the school, but not under phase 2. Because those still people, even though they're working for that organization, they're still volunteers and to us. And so it'll be at least phase 3 or more before we ever get to that. And, so I'm excited about that.
What determines, is it the county health? I'm sure it's probably a complement of various people. It determines which level this is going to go and where the next, how you get to level 3, what's the downside of the COVID cases in Southern County. And
so we're looking at the level. We were very high for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We've dropped back down to high, which still is kind of a level 2 as we continue to drop. I anticipate we will drop, barring any crazy things from the motorcycle groups or stuff like that, to where on Labor Day, praying phase 3.
So it all has to do with the
Numbers, occupancy of the hospital, all that kind of thing. We look at a variety of that type of stuff. And really, the county doesn't make that call, we do.
But do you guys have like a threshold, like for phase 1, we want,
it really is it's a blur between the 2 phases, because right now we really are a 2+. We're bringing everybody back.
And that's at 33 active cases, right?
Yeah, when we made that decision, it was 44.
Okay.
Or larger. And so, and then we had, what was our total caseload? 145 we've had?
A little less than that. It's the rate of incidents that we're measuring.
Okay, yeah, rate of incidents, and so we had that spike, and now we're starting to come back down. And the county put in their letter, which probably, bless their heart, they tried, but it was mostly excuses. And the good news is it's turning back the other way. And so we're heading toward phase 3. But it'll be phase 2 for those first couple of weeks. And once we lock into phase 3, we'll probably lock into that for 4 weeks, for sure. And before we go to anything else.
So it doesn't sound like there's any, like, you're not gonna say, oh, when we get to 20, we feel comfortable. You guys are just gonna kind of, it's
Yeah,
more of
we'll
a,
see the direction it's going. And in the cases, even that we're aware of within our faculty, is it mostly south? Is it mostly, I mean, we really have to keep an eye on all that. I'm fortunate and I get to meet with the county a couple times a week with the leaders in that. And so they're going to keep us informed. We definitely bounce things off of them, but we get to make the call, but we want to make a safe call. And we can't blame it on the governor. We can't. The person you can blame it on is sitting right here. Yeah. And we have a lot of tremendous input, and together it kind of falls in my lap.
So have you guys thought of like use cases where, what if a teacher comes down with COVID and they've been teaching 10 kids in their class?
Yeah, everybody.
So you guys that's part of the plan?
Yeah, everybody goes.
And what about one child that's been in that class, same thing?
Yeah, if there's one child in that class, it's 14. I mean, it's 14 days. If it's one teacher, the teacher will have to go as well, 14 days. And everybody that's in there that has that contact will have to go. It isn't just that kid. And so that's going to be strange. It'll be interesting the first time that happens. Wouldn't it be cool if it didn't happen at all? I mean, I'd love to be wrong in those situations. But I think we probably will at some point run into that. Especially since, if you'll notice, the sports situation, they don't have anything going from October through the end of the school, end of the 2020. That's because they're expecting a spike. They think it's coming. And,
what about the scenario, Steve, if a parent calls and says, my child has a fever today, so I'm not sending them in? Obviously, most parents will go get them tested, right? But if they don't, do you have to make that assumption? Or
we will continue to ask the questions that go on that. We won't leave that lay. The nice thing is we hired Nurse Misty to come in and be our person that's kind of our COVID coordinator. She's setting up the extra rooms we have. We're using some of our money to hire extra health aides. So that normal scrape your knee thing is different than I've got a temperature.
Okay.
And goes to a different area.
Will she be able to give a test?
No.
COVID test?
No, and I anticipate when that happens, I'm going to have to go in and beg and fight and chew and whatever to make sure we get that.
Yeah, actually, that is a really good question. Knowing that we've got that separate area set up, is there any way that the public health might work with us to have those so that we can provide the test and go, or are they specially trained to actually give the test and we can't get that?
I think it's specially trained through the test centers, but and we had situations where we've had people that want to be tested, and unless the doctor tells them go, they aren't getting tests, and then they aren't getting them back.
So we're still more limited.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6 days, and you're a week into your downtime, and so it's the testing situation is difficult right now. We've had our last day of testing at the middle school because we need the parking lot, but they used it. However, we showed up this morning, 2 people decided to set up the campers there, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They will not be there again today.
Yeah. Just like.
They will contact.
Oh, yes, yeah. I get it. I can't find any place else. It's just like a COVID spot.
Yeah, that was definitely here. So the status of our testing is, at least what I was told, is unless the doctor says you need to, that's basically it. So these scenarios, what is the availability for that kid or that teacher who turns up with symptoms? it sounds like they don't have that option.
We take them to the doctor. I mean, they take them to the doctor. They go to the doctor.
Then doctor says, you need a test.
You need a
And then they
test.
go where?
And then we have testing sites in the county,
Yeah.
or they can go down the hill.
It is publicized where they are. Actually, the one that was at the middle school moved over to Gold Hill, which is the old, where the Do It Best used to be. That's where they're gonna be holding the testing is down there. That's on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Teller County Public Health has it. So that is published on Teller County Public Health's webpage.
And we have, which is great, because people would, would come in and knock on the middle school door, you'd open up, can I help you? Yes, is this where I get COVID tested?
Great.
Yeah, and so, but if you've not been there, the setup they have there, they have it set up, that's an overflow hospital. They've got it set up ready to go.
So and according to their webpage, it looks like if you have symptoms, you can get tested, but what you're telling me, unless you have a doctor's note,
That's what they told, we had my father-in-law was a little worried.
Uh-huh.
Didn't have any symptoms, but he had it in the back, passed. Just wanted to see if he had it, I said, no, that didn't work that way. I mean, not that he had it now, but back in the day. Otherwise, I'd be doing this on video. And without a doctor saying, going to do that, I think if you just show up and say, I got some symptoms, they're not going to get your test.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's gone back and forth, but I'd be curious to know. I know the Citadel has a drive-through now, I think, too, down in Springs.
So get this open down to the spring, because some families can't do that. That's why it's critical to make sure that we've got something going up here, so.
But it has to be your doctor, not the school
Nurse.
health
Right.
person.
Yeah, school nurse is
So
going to be.
you have to jump. Okay.
Now, that being said, Nurse Misty has left full.
Sure.
I'll
Honestly,
bet she does.
honestly, she does.
There's a lot of kids who don't have doctors.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's going back and forth, like you were saying. There's times where I remember the website saying, just come in if you have symptoms, and other times where Department of County Health said you need an appointment.
Yep.
So I'm sure it'll change.
It bounces all over.
Yeah.
It all depends, I think a lot of times on test availability.
But that's part of our instructions to them as a district.
Part of them is go to the doctor.
Hey, mom, dad, if your kid is sick, please.
Please go to the doctor. We aren't saying get checked for COVID. That's an obvious thing. But we will ask those questions. Do they have a headache? Are they losing taste? I mean, all those things our nurses will go through. Well, you may want to go please go get this checked out. And,
Is that part of being cleared, just like with sports? If you have an injury, you have to get cleared by the doctor to get to sports. Do you have to be cleared to come back to school? What's our threshold of getting
if
the
there's
kid
no
back in?
COVID situation at all, then no.
Sure.
But I'm going to guess almost every time we have a temperature, we're going to ask them to get checked.
Yeah.
And then all clear.
But that's a good point. That's what I was getting at. If a parent calls in and says, yeah, my kid's not coming into school today, they have a fever, yeah, they have a fever, right? Hang up, next day, kid comes to school.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Does anyone, are we gonna have to track that and say, this kid was out with a fever yesterday, so we need to make sure and ask if he comes back?
Yeah, we'll have to question him.
Yeah.
And go through the whole process.
I had a couple other questions if you're done. Are you done?
No, I'm still rolling, but no, I'll
I'm
take questions.
sorry.
No, we haven't met for a while, so let's
Yeah,
do this
I know, everyone over there, sorry.
thing. They're excited about this.
The transportation costs, I was just curious because you were talking about the transportation schedule, how it had to change so much. So because of all those different bus routes, is that going to cost us more money, and are we able to take care of that through the COVID CARES Act?
We can use COVID money up through December 31st, and we have a chunk of change, about $250,000 that we can use. Other than that, but there is a little bit of a price difference. Do you remember what that is, Dale?
We don't know exactly yet. Right now, the first estimate was about $400 a day, I think, more, but that was when we had all kinds of extra routes going. So we haven't got the full billing for where the routes are yet. We won't have that until, what do you think, probably 2 weeks into the school year when we finally figure out how to make all the adjustments to each of the routes and all those things. So I'll have a better idea during that time.
But will we be able to use that CARES money or whatever, one of the
We've
COVID
set
funds?
some of the CARES money aside for it.
Or transportation?
But like Steve said, it's in the coronavirus relief fund, which is only through December.
Right.
And you know, it's surprising. We've done a lot of things that most of our money has been spent on bringing kids back. And so that's why I'm glad no one said, no, you got to keep kids at home. So one of the things that we're doing for this is, I'll throw this in now, because I'm going to talk about it later, but we have air purifiers for every room that are COVID rated to be able to take care of the, every 30 minutes it will circulate the air, clean the air. So that was an expensive proposition. Yeah, we thought at first, hey, we get those $150 ones. You know, so we spent a large chunk of change in that, but we needed to, because now we know how it's passed. And you know, you're probably not going to catch it at this table. I'm going to catch it. You want to keep breathing on me. Yeah, and you're welcome. Gwen keeps breathing on me.
I do have another question, sorry. So my other question has to do with parents, and I've seen some of this in the social media rounds, is parents that are going back to work and they don't normally have to have childcare because their kids are maybe older, or they're going to, you know, if they can't come back to school, then they're at home and they don't have anyone to be with. Are there going to be exceptions made to allowing those kids, like we are with special needs, to come in?
See, yeah, that's one of the things we're looking at phase 2, is, and we realize it's a situation, and we do want to make adjustments for those. I have no choice. We aren't going to eat if I can't get there. What are we going to do? And so, you know, phase 1, that's just, sorry. Phase 2, we're in the process of doing those adjustments. Originally, it was like, nope, just, and it depends on what kind of battle you want to fight, on whether you are a worker that's required to be there or not. That there are special letters that go out, those type of things. But we will take those things into consideration for sure.
They may not be essential.
Right, but they may be essential if they want to eat.
They may be essential to their family that they're going to work in.
And
okay,
that's what I understood when you were talking about the essential workers. That's the expansion he's talking about.
okay, I missed that. I thought you meant the traditional.
Because if we really wanted to do, and Dell speak to this a little bit, the essential worker, that's a different animal than what you just talked about.
Right. Yeah.
And so we started looking at those numbers, especially at the elementary. You know, you take a lot of kids that'll be showing up, even though the idea is it's supposed to be at home. So that's kind of where that is. Phase 3 is we still wear a mask and everything, but we bring everybody back with social distancing. All those things still happen. The signage, all those things. Type of instructions in person. And still face masks, the whole works, but we bring them all back. And so it's in-person cohorts. We're still cohorted. We aren't back to our regular schedule yet. And so when we look at our significantly impacted learners, same as phase 2, they're going to be here anyway. But phase 3, we bring people back, and you know, limited interactions between kids. Our transportation will basically be the same. In our food service, you know, in-person cohorts in the classroom or the cafeteria, but they got to be together in that cohort, and that they can't just go anywhere. So our training and conditioning will be available. High School Activity Association activities, we're limiting that. The other day we decided to shut everything down till after Labor Day, except for those sports that are running. So, you know, our first football game's in March? Really needing practice this week is not that important. And so we're shutting things down so we can get a handle. We still are grabbing a handle on when can we do camps, because as far as the High School Activity Association goes, they're treating this fall like summer. Do your camps, do whatever, it's the wild, wild west. And so we want to be smart about it. And still give our kids an opportunity to train, to compete, but we won't be having 5 months of practice for our first game. And, but we're gonna have to do something, because if you look at the schedule, what, you guys remember the schedule? How many days from the first practice to, the first game?
I think in football it's 9, is that right?
Yeah, 9 days. In a basketball, what's it, 3? 3 days?
But everybody has to do that.
Yeah, everybody's doing it. But if you have a crew that's been working for 5 months versus, I mean, so there'll be something happen. There'll be some, basketball, football actually overlap just a little bit. You'll probably see some morning and afternoon practices in that situation, because we have a lot of kids that double up. So, and wrestling.
See, when you say phase 3, you bring everybody back, is there still an option for those who choose to
Oh, yeah.
do the remote?
Absolutely. Remote will be an option this year.
Okay.
And, you know, we just will have people not feel safe. And bless their heart, okay, let's help you out. And we've got teachers that may not feel safe. And so let's give them an opportunity to do something where they can do the job and be safe.
This is a little bit of a gear switch, but since we talked about remote, one of the rumblings that I've heard, and I don't know if it's specific to Colorado or not, is the budgetary concerns with if you're more online than in session, and if you're more online, you know, folks are looking at pulling some funding.
Yeah, that's a federal thing that I think you hear from the administrative branch. It hasn't really happened yet. I really don't think even our Secretary of Education is really that engaged in it.
And it's not something that's being discussed at all in Colorado?
No, not here. While you're at it, I'm going to show you some numbers of where we were on the 6th. The numbers don't look greatly different than where we were. You can see this is about how many kids. About 75% of our kids is about how many kids we have after we're done with enrollment every year. And so it's about what we had this year. And so to see the blue are the people that chose in person. R is remote, simultaneous things happening there. O is online. They're doing our homeschool stuff online. The EA stands for Enrichment Academy. We have people that choose to just do the Enrichment Academy. We still get some funding for that. And then you see the NA, and the NA is the people just had, but that was back on the 6th. Then we started making phone calls. So we've not updated this thing yet, but it was surprising. I didn't think the numbers would be that high, and because this is where they normally are. I thought they would normally be lower. So we started making phone calls, and people are choosing and getting in and starting to get that taken care of. And we're using our coaches and ambassadors for that, to be able to make those phone calls. We've had 12 people select just going to do their own homeschool this year in this thing. So, and we've been contacting them as well and trying to get them to make, draw them back in. I was surprised it was only 12. I thought that number would be significantly higher, but I'm very pleased it's 12, but we're still trying to get that number down. So, and there may be a few more as these NAs try to figure out where they are and where they stand, what they want to do, but we're hoping, hope for the best and try to get things. I think when we get that information, we plan on kick out the 17th. I'm actually hoping to kick that out tomorrow. And, but I wanted, before I officially kicked it out, as I said, I shared it with the county and who knows what else. So they'll, so it's out there a little bit, but we'll get it out there officially soon. Be a letter from me, talking a little bit about it. It's saying expect the communication from your kid's school, and you'll see what that looks like here shortly. Actually, I'll hand it out now.
So you have a quick question.
Yep.
So for high school, it says EA, 24%. Is that
That correct?
Panther?
Yeah,
Is that the
it's like the little enrichment academy thing that we do with kids who are maybe just homeschooling. They come in for the enrichment academy. That's about the number we have anyway.
So there's no NA for high school?
Actually, Steve, that's the one that had the error. It should say NA,
Oh.
not EA.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so.
You're looking at the high school. Yeah, no, that was accidentally, but EA, sorry about that. That should be NA.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a larger enrichment academy for the high school. No, that's a little bitty blue sliver.
So what's the real number for that, for enrollment? 24%.
24%. So we had 1,800 kids that had enrolled, and we still need the other.
Oh, wait, but for that high school number, 24 would be 200, 150?
24% of,
About 175.
you got 700.
I just wanted to throw out a little kudos for whoever, Jen Johnson contacted me for something else, but then she said, I noticed that you hadn't registered Matt. And I did. And so I just wanted to let you all know, it's really good to contact parents, because when I was on the website, it said submitted, but somehow it wasn't submitted. So it was a little bit strange. And because I did it like the day after it came out. And so I was so glad she contacted me. So I went back in and all the data was all in there. And I hit submit again. And then that time I actually got an email confirmation. So the first time I did not, which made sense something didn't work. I just want to let you know.
Oh, good. We're making the phone call.
In case there's parents out there that think that they did.
Yeah, but if we don't see them.
I'm known as dumb as I am.
If we don't see them, we're calling. Yeah, no, you got, thank you.
Yeah.
But we did, I can see Jen, she's pretty sharp, and I'll call you, I'm talking, oh, by the way, I don't see Maddie, yeah.
So just wanted to let you know that happened to me, so.
Okay. Good deal. Anyway, that's a little bit about the numbers. I don't know that we'll ever, guys, we have new normals. And so we get to phase four, you can see that opens up quite a bit. We go back to our clubs and activities, athletics activities, in alignment with what's happening at the health, with the High School Activity Association. We will still do all our disinfecting. Breakfast and lunch service will be provided in the cafeteria. It'll be a little more open. Mask, students, staff will encourage or required to wear face masks at certain times, but other essential protective gear. Follow distancing guidelines, but it'll be a little more open than it was in 3. And I'm excited about getting kids outdoors, because I tell you, I'm already, this thing's driving me nuts. And to be able to get out and do that.
On that note, are we going to have masks available for
yes,
students?
we've got a ton of them already, and we've got some cool ones ordered with some of that CARES money, and so it's we're definitely, they could have their own that be provided. I was teasing these guys. I found this great big McGruff head. I could wear it, but.
So you showed a graph of students. What about faculty? Where are we at with that average?
They'll share with a little bit about some of those numbers. He's actually got this. We're actually pretty good. But,
then the only piece extra cohorts. So definition of cohort is a class, and then that class goes together.
So like at the middle school, we've got them cohorted in the smaller groups than what their class would normally be, because we want to stay at 20 and under type situation. And elementary, we've got them in the small. In fact, we want to start off really small those first 2 weeks. That's why we got half of them coming. And so then it goes back to more normal schedule. And we'll probably change, at some point. The problem is if we go to 4, we change our whole busing schedule back. And then we got to jump back to 3 or 2. And so we got to be real careful on our scheduling type changes. And so we'll probably stick with that, but we'll be able to get into more, instead of having music come to you, you go to music. Passing in the hallway is a little different. All those type of things will be just a little bit different.
So that leads me to another question regarding schedule.
Yep.
So 4, I'm assuming, or is, I should ask the question, would 4 be going back to your typical bell schedule, or would you stick with this schedule through the semester?
I think we'll stick with it definitely through the 4 weeks. Probably the semester makes sense. to us. The problem is if the moment you change it back, we get a spike and we need to go backwards, then it all goes back to a different schedule again. So we'll be slow to change the schedule.
Well, at the high school, I think, I would wager it'd be difficult to go from, because you're working on these classes for credit and then all of a sudden try to switch it.
Yeah, you'd have to get through that credit before you did anything. And realistically, this year, guys, we're probably where we're going to be schedule-wise. But I anticipate we'll get to 4 at some point. And we may have to go back to 2 after that. I hope never 1. But we'll be real careful on what we're doing. And so visitors without an appointment are asked to remain in the front foyer, but we'll be able to use some of our EEE folks and stuff like that to be able to make some of those things happen. But still transportation is kind of an issue. And so that'll probably happen at the school. We're fortunate. We have kind of wild areas in each of those schools and be able to do some of those things. So, and phase 5 is back to normal. The chances of us, we're going to have new normals. Yeah, I mean, think about it. We're going to run into some stuff that we really like and things that we really never want to do again. But, you know, do you think we'd ever get away with not telecasting our graduation again? I mean, that was really cool. You think our seniors this year are going to want to parade? You know, all that stuff is stuff that was really cool and we'll probably want to keep with. And so we're going to find some stuff that's going to be really neat. And then we're going to find some stuff that, oops, we wish we wouldn't have done. And that's just part of it. The piece of paper we hand out, and I won't spend a ton of time with this because I explained to you, this is more detailed. It'll come out to parents. You can see the elementary, the middle school, and the high school, how those first 2 weeks are going to work. And it explains. So you got the whole shebang, and it'll come out. We'll have our preliminary letter saying expect this. And here's a basic overview, and then this gets into more of the minutia of how that works. And so it's this. You know, we have Jump Start because it'll look a lot like Jump Start. Really, our words that we're using as a soft start. It's a soft start. And things change. You know, we came up with that here in the last week or so. To try to realize when we saw those numbers up pretty high, we didn't feel like, yeah, let's bring everybody back. And it just didn't seem right. And so with a soft start, it at least gets everybody in. They all get to see their teacher. If things spike again, at least they've talked about what digital learning looks like, about simultaneous online things happening, and it will be and they'll have face-to-face with the teachers. That, to me, that's important. I'm thinking of these districts, the first time to meet the teachers on Zoom or Google Meet, that doesn't seem right. And in fact, it's hard to build connection. And so that's one of the reasons we're bringing people in, some just to get things going. And then if we continue the downward trajectory, we'll go to 3 as soon as we can on that, hopefully on Labor Day. So that's what we're rolling with. Yeah, would you like to talk a little bit about, or do you need hooked up, talk about what we've done with surveys and kind of what happens if a teacher is ill or they have extenuating circumstances?
Yeah, instead of me hooking up, what I did, I sent you my PowerPoint on email, so you can fill that up, and we can just run it, and nobody has to do it. We can stay physically distanced.
I'm gonna grab some more.
Except for.
Okay. We get out of this thing.
So, just as he's loading that up, one of the things we talked about using QR codes for people in our buildings, there's staff members and BOCES members and visitors. And so you guys probably didn't know about the QR codes when you came in here, huh? So you probably didn't sign in, did you?
Come on.
But if you could, just so you can see what it's like and you know what it is, on your way out tonight, on the bulletin board by the bathrooms, you'll see a set of 3 QR codes, and one of them's for visitors, so that'd be us. Go ahead and zap that thing and answer that question. The reason why we do that, obviously, we're not going to prevent you guys from coming in now, right? If Nancy said, oh, you have 2 of those things. Well, but what it does do is it allows us to help with contact tracing in the future if needed. That's one of the major purposes why we have everybody zapping in staff-wise, so we know where they are. It all populates into a spreadsheet that I have. I don't study that thing. I don't know who's zapped in or not, but if I had to, I could go to that date and I could figure it out. So
Wait, now, how does it know that it's me?
So in your particular case, because it's visitors, the very first question will be, it'll ask for your name. So when you zap it in, it comes up to a little form. The first question on the form is name. So
On my phone.
On your phone.
And I type,
And then it's just a series of like 10 questions. It's a basic self-screener that you see everywhere. Just yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Boom. It zaps to me on a spreadsheet. The staff members, it's a little bit easier for staff members. When they QR code, it captures their email address right off the bat. So,
do they use their badge or something?
no, they can just use their phone. You just take the camera and hold it right up to the QR code. It'll pop up, ask you to open it up in whatever browser you have on your phone. And you just hit yes, and it'll take you right to that form.
And this is just plain camera, this isn't a QR code reader?
You can use a QR reader, but today's phones are pretty much set up to where it's just a camera.
Sweet.
Yep. So, but if you have an older phone and it's not set up like that, then you just get the free QR reader app and save that. Exact same.
How does it know what your email address is?
I've got email all the time. It knows me. It's my phone.
Oh, because you set it up.
I don't need my email.
Yeah. So we'll practice that, so we can have that, so it's kind of neat, you can see what that looks like. We could hold a competition to see who's the most consistent with right.
So I can type in another name.
You could. Or, you could do like Brian does and just zap in 10 times on one day and say, look at that, 10 of them. So one of the things, one of the challenging pieces of all of this, and every business and schools are no exception, is the protecting staff from not only a health standpoint, trying to put those things in place, whether it's the requiring masks or it's the air purifiers or we've got these ion, things that are supposed to clean the air in our vents for larger systems. We're really trying to do those things, putting in more cleaning protocols, providing different things. So the health of our staff is one thing, but also the professional financial health of our staff is another concern that we have, right? We need to be able to protect them as much as we can. So if you spend a lot of time with FMLA by itself, you know that FMLA is a confusing thing, even in and of itself. And so to add to that piece, on April 1st of 2020, President Trump did sign the Families First Coronavirus Response Act into law. So what that did is that it gave an opportunity to expand some FMLA, mainly the paid component of the FMLA. And it also had attached to it an extended or emergency sick paid leave component to it. So that came into law April 1st. It is set to expire December 31st of 2020. Unless they expand it. My gut tells me they will expand it, but I don't know that for sure. I'm not up there. Colorado did pass their Healthy Workers Act as well that takes effect January 1st, but I haven't got to the details of what that looks like yet, so we will. Essentially, we'll go through, there's two different ways that we protect staff, right? So the first one is paid leave, right? How are we going to take the leave when I'm sick, or if I heaven forbid get COVID? How am I going to be paid in those situations? We have paid leave buckets. We have that now, right? Every teacher gets, or every staff member gets up to, mostly 12 personal time days through the year. And so we get some of that can get rolled over into sick bank if you're here long enough. So we have some paid policies in itself. But how does this work for us? Well, I don't want to go through the whole thing. You guys can always read this stuff online or whatever on the FFCRA. That was what I just talked about the president signing that into law. And then here's how it works with the emergency paid leave, paid sick leave. So essentially, there are 6 categories that are that are identified as scenarios in which you would qualify for this emergency paid sick leave. Now, keep in mind, the very first thing to understand is that this is on top of leave that the staff already have. So this is a guaranteed up to 80 hours if you fall somewhere in these 6 categories. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind is that unlike personal time, this is a one-shot gig. Right, so you get it. The clock starts at 80 hours, or up to 80 hours, because you're part-time, it changes. Up to 80 hours of paid leave, and then that's what it is. And when the year expires, it doesn't roll over, so I can't carry over my COVID emergency paid sick leave to my next contract. All right, so this is the ones that we talked about. So the first 3 issues are typically something that happens to you as a person. Right, so the one is, are you put into quarantine by a federal agency or a state agency or a local agency? If you're told that you're in a quarantine, then automatically you are eligible, you may be eligible up to 80 hours of paid sick leave from that time. There's always a caveat to this, right? And that is this. I might be sent home, my doctor might say, man, you were exposed, you need to be in quarantine for 14 days. But I don't have any symptoms, I feel fine, and I can work from home. None of this would apply to me at that point. I'm just working from home. This happens if I literally cannot work for a variety of reasons, whether I'm too sick to work or whatever. I can't perform my job remotely, things like that. So that's the first one. Okay? And my eyes are all blurry here, so. So the second one is similar to that one. I'm gonna stand up a little closer. So that's your doctor. That's what the ones I just explained. The doctor says you need to go home. And then the third one is, this one's tricky. It's if you have COVID-19 symptoms and are seeking medical diagnosis. Here's the key. The word there, "and," is the key, right? If I have a COVID-19 symptom, but I think I'm just going to wait this thing out, I'm not going to go to the doctor. If I'm not seeking that type of attention, to verify if I have COVID or not, I don't get this. Okay? I have to be seeking the medical treatment. Simple as, I went to my doctor. My doctor said you're presumptive positive. That would be seeking treatment. I just can't take it like, I think of having cold symptoms, right? I come in October and I have cold symptoms, and I decide to take a day off and go, yeah, you know what, my symptoms I have was a cold are COVID-19 symptoms, but I'm not seeking medical attention. I'm not gonna get this emergency pay. Okay, those 3 scenarios that are happening to you as a human, as a person, those qualify you for 100% of your pay for up to 80 hours. Okay? And that, again, that's on top of paid leave that the district gives you. Numbers 4, 5, and 6 refer to situations that are a little bit less guaranteed pay, and they are situations that are a little bit different. So number 4 is if you are the one who's in charge of or taking care of, right? If that's the situation of somebody who meets the first 3 criteria. The best example I can give on that is a spouse gets sick, has to be quarantined, sent home, and they can't take care of themselves, and you have to be home to go take care of them. That qualifies you in this particular situation. But because you're not sick, because you're not the one that's been assigned quarantine, maybe in that case you would be, but because it's not happening to you, you qualify for 2/3 of your full-time pay. Okay, so I know probably the first question is, man, that's going to make some of our staff take a pay cut. Well, hold that for just a second, because we're going to talk about that. Okay, the 6th one is that generic or anything that is close to these things as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. It is a huge list, so to put that on here would be impossible. Yeah.
Where did 5 go?
Aha! Thanks, Corbin. So, number 5 actually refers to, this is the expansion of the FMLA. So the first piece was really the emergency pay sick leave. Number 5 qualifies you for leave pay as well, but it can be expanded out to 12 weeks total. If you are at home taking care of your children because their school or their place of daycare has been shut down and is not available to you. Okay? So if that's the case, you're able to do You get up to 12 weeks of paid time, and that is at 2/3 of your pay. All right. Example here, probably the easiest one. Last spring, when we all went home, I know I've watched teachers that we have that have little ankle biters at home themselves, and not only are they trying to teach, but they were trying to help their kids on their stuff, and it became almost impossible. In this situation, they can qualify for up to 12 weeks to say, I can't do mine because I have to take care of my kids. Awesome. They get that. They can do that. Again, in all of these, the caveat is if you're at home for whatever reason, but you can perform remotely, we're not counting it. So it doesn't apply. Okay? So what happens to those teachers or staff members who are going to only take 2/3 of pay? We've loosened up the regulations for our school district to allow them to use whatever cumulative pay they do have, vacation days, unused sick days, or pay time off, to make up that other third. So they're going to be able to take 1/3 of their hours that they have saved up to make up the 2/3 so that we get the full pay. So it's not the ideal. This is kind of like, and it's probably a bad example, and I apologize, but I kind of feel like when we make these policies, we're kind of like the doctors at the hospitals who have to make the policies of who gets a ventilator and who doesn't. Right? At some point, there has to be some criteria, and that's where we are. So this is all federally mandated. The 1/3 leave pay that they're allowed to use, that's us. That's us putting that in saying we can do that.
Are they able to start with their sick pay, or does that start with their vacation?
So in our system, they would start with their current year's allotted time off.
Gotcha.
And then they would move on to, some of us have sick bank or sick pay.
Right.
And some of us have final leave.
Okay.
You burn through that. Some of us have vacation. You burn through that. And then, to top all of that off, if for some reason your illness lasts for a long, long time, or you get it multiple times, or whatever that may look like, we've encouraged all of our staff members to join our sick leave bank. So that now, because if they join the sick leave bank, which means they're donating some of their days that are allotted, so they get 12, they donate 2. Once they do that for 3 years, or that's the membership fee. Once you do it the first time, you have access to what we call a sick leave bank, which currently has approximately 2,000 days in it, somewhere in there. So we have quite a few. It would take a lot for us to get 2,000 days taken out of the bank. Considering guys like myself who have been in the district forever, I have enough accumulated leave of unused sick leave that I could probably be sick all year and never touch any of that stuff. I don't want to. I just didn't jinx myself. I hope. But, all right, that's the piece. All right, so that's the federal pieces.
So Dale, can I ask on number 5?
You can.
I feel like that could be quite a lot of teachers, is it, or no?
Well, it possibly could be.
But we don't know that today.
We don't know that today. Because some.
Based on the spring.
Based on the
like you were
spring, I would
saying.
say it was a handful.
Okay.
Now, I'm basing that off of what I witnessed. There might be some who did a really good job of masking it, and I would never know, right? You also have some that their spouse, whoever they're living with, their significant other, is able to pick up some of the slack on the other side, or whatever that looks like, and they were able to balance it out. But I'd say it was a handful that probably less than a handful that probably could have really benefited from this. So, because the amazing thing about our staff members, and you guys know this anywhere you work, they don't want to give up the opportunity to teach and work. They will bend over backwards to make their family stuff work around providing for the lessons. So it's just kind of the nature of our.
It would be nice if we could pay those teachers more. Like give them a bonus.
It
Pay them
would
at home.
It would be nice, yeah.
That should be number 6.
So there's really no decision point date on this, right? You can choose that we're going to be rolling out the stage, and that will trigger their decision points of yay, nay.
Like that, what I just went through right there is all triggered on if you get sick or if you get somebody else in your family sick.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter if it's tomorrow, next month.
It's not based on a stage.
Nope.
Right.
Well, number 5 is.
But number 5, I mean,
Number
I'm just
5
saying,
doesn't necessarily have to be a stage for right?
It is
Because
not
if I-
based
Only they're deciding, though, I am where I am, not comfortable,
Correct.
whether it's a stage or whether it's.
Correct, you're right.
Tuesday.
Yeah, that's
But
number
there's
five.
not a date we have to have, we can ask them, hey, could you let us know?
No,
So
no.
we can plan.
Here's the best example for that is we have teachers that work here, but go to school, their kids go to school in Colorado Springs. If the school in Colorado Springs shuts down, October, for whatever reason, our teachers are qualified for that. It's not for that leave, because they would have to stay home because their place of care or school has been shut down.
That's one of the reasons you see a lot of the schools doing some of the same stuff down the hill, is because they all live in each other's districts.
Okay. We talked about that. That's just recapping what we just went through, so I don't need to really go through that. That's the sick bank. I do want to add one piece to this. So, well, probably two pieces. One is it's a sick leave bank is not a district policy. We don't run that from the district. That's actually ran and controlled by our WPEA. So that's something that they can control. But there are parameters of who can access that sick bank that we have talked with them and put some policies in place to loosen that up so that we can get some help with that. There's one classification of staff that doesn't have the availability of sick leave bank, or didn't, right? Our classified folks did not have a sick leave bank. They were all by donation days at the end. Brian has spent some time putting it all together where we're going to have now the opportunity for our classified staff to do the exact same thing, donate for 2 days, and now they're going to have an opportunity to have some sick leave bank as well. Brian's allocated some money out of our COVID funding. I don't know all the acronyms, but he knows what they are, right? Out of the COVID funding to seed that a little bit, put some money away so we can have some of those days built up until we are able to build that with our staff. So that was something that was put in this year, was for the classified sick bank. Very important.
Up to this point, it was just like, I hope they donate to me.
Yep.
And so we changed that.
That's good.
And we've emphasized over and over and over again in every presentation, everything we talk to, if you don't become a member of sick bank, you cannot access these days. Right? You're literally donating days as an insurance policy. You may never recoup those 6 days. You're right. But so that's important. We have not usually talked about that because it's not ours, but we have emphasized that in everything this year. So should be getting better. All right, so let's jump into the unpaid leave portions. So this is the part that is district policy. This is what we are going to be able to do for our staff. This is the part that it doesn't feel good in some ways, right? What we're trying to do is provide unpaid leave situations that protect jobs for people who qualify in certain ways or ask to qualify in certain ways. Just know that in employment law right now, you don't have to offer these things. This is us doing it for our staff. So the first one is an unpaid leave if you fall into one of those 6 high-risk categories. So we call it literally the high-risk leave, unpaid leave. Okay, and those categories are everything from age 65 and over, asthma, heart disease, those type of things, pregnancy, or a doctor or healthcare provider says you're extremely high risk. Okay, we try to get our staff to understand that we're operating from the premise that when we say we're back in school, whenever that day starts, August 25th, that everybody's back in their job. This is not that situation where somebody says, I qualify into one of those things, can I be a remote teacher? That's a totally separate thing. Okay? That happens at the building level. Okay? So they can make those accommodations and say, yeah, we need this person to be a remote teacher or an online coach or whatever that looks like. That happens at the building level. This is where, once those assignments go out, if you feel like you can't do that assignment, this is what you can ask for. You can apply for a leave. Just like any staff member can apply for a leave, sabbatical, well, it's not any, right? But sabbatical, medical leave, those are all unpaid leave that staff can ask for. We've added this as a category that staff can ask for if they meet those 6 criteria. To date, we've had 0 that have asked for this. Now, We did give them a deadline of asking for this for August 14th, so that's Friday. So we'll see, but I don't anticipate this happening because most of our teachers up to this point have been accommodated within the schedule. So it's been great, okay? This will obviously require some documentation, from the medical provider that says, yep, you can do that. This one allows you to actually declare a time frame as well. So maybe I don't feel good until Christmas. Right? I want to work through, or I want to take the time off for Christmas because I meet one of those. My doctor thinks that's the best treatment plan, whatever that may look like. They'll apply for this unpaid leave. Actually, they just request it, and then they have a return date that they can come back. Right? So it could be a month, could be 3 months, whatever that may be. Okay? All of those staff members are allowed to use their professional leave days or personal leave days as well to make up the difference. So let's just use myself as an example. Let's say I have 75 days of unused leave. I think I have more than that, but let's say I have that. I could come into this and say, okay, well, I'm not over 65, although I act like it. So let's say I'm over 65, right? And so I can say I'm going to take 75 days. I would like to have 75 days because in 75 days I feel like things are going to be better, or I'm going to be able to be whatever it may be. I can use all my 75 days and not miss a paycheck. Right? But as soon as I run out of days, I don't get paid anymore. Right? In fact, not only do I not get paid, I have to now kick in the district portion of benefits. So I invoke COBRA essentially. Okay? So that's one category of unpaid leave.
Is there a length though that you would say is not reasonable?
I'm probably, I don't know if I can personally answer that. It's probably job dependent, to be honest with you.
Okay, so I'm just this whole year. I want this whole school year off because I just don't want to deal with anything going on.
Well, that's different. So remember, this one right here is just if you're in those 6 categories.
But I'm 66, so.
So yes, in that
but I don't
particular
act like
case.
it.
So yeah, you could. You could, Nancy, you could come and say, Jill, for my 66th birthday, I would love to take some time off here. And I have 35 days saved up, so I'll take that as pay. And then I would say, okay, that's fine. You have 140 days that you're not going to get paid on. You have to pay the COBRA piece. But what this does, how this protects our staff, is that with this unpaid leave, it promises them a job back the next year. Right? So if it's, now, like all leave, it's not the same job necessarily. We would try to do that, but it's a job we qualify for. So if I'm a second grade teacher at Columbine, which would be scary for those little second graders, but if I was, and I took this, the only job that might be available to me is 5th grade at Summit. Okay, that's what I'm qualified to do. That would be my job. But you have a job guaranteed coming back. Okay? So that's that bucket. Then there's the bucket of other COVID-related unpaid leave. For a lack of a better way of putting this would be for that person, maybe who says, I'm just too afraid to come back. Right? For whatever reason that is. Now we know that if there are conditions that are attached to that, that's a whole different ballgame. But this is, I just literally can't come back. Maybe I'm taking care of my grandmother and I can't afford it. I can't bring that to my grandmother, right? In this particular case, you would apply for a full year's leave of absence. Now, again, you can use your unpaid or unused sick leave days. But in this case, you would, if you agreed to this and applied for this, you would not come back at all until July 1st of next year. This is a full, you're committing to a full year.
So if you feel better in January, like, oh, I want to come back, I feel much safer now.
Yeah, you can't do that.
It's all or nothing.
Correct. In this category. In the previous category, you could have done that exactly. You could have revoked that any time in return. Likewise, in the previous category I failed to mention, we can ask that. Right? So if we give this and all of a sudden in January, everybody has antibodies and it's cured and we're done, then we can come to you and say, look, we know you applied to be out till February, but there's no there is no COVID-19 or there's no fear of that, so you need to come back. So. Okay, so there's a lot of words that get thrown around, get confusing sometimes, and I made the mistake of trying to make a remote working agreement, realizing that the word remote meant remote learning, remote teaching, remote working, and it was too confusing. So what happened was we have decided to put in a telecommuting agreement. Okay, so this is an agreement just as it sounds. Once you have a job assignment given to you, if your job can be reasonably done at home, and you're not giving your duties to somebody else, there's no accommodations to be made like that, we're going to allow you to apply for a telecommuting position. Not a position agreement. The position's already done. Okay? This came out of some COVID stuff because it actually came out of some discussions Brian and I had last spring when we had all of our teachers and everything going home, working from home, but we didn't have any way of documenting what it was they were doing. Right? And so last year, and we were blessed to be able to honor the pay and the hours and all that stuff, regardless of what was happening. So that was wonderful. Not really probably the most prudent way of doing it. So the most extreme example, if tomorrow Governor Polis says, hey, guess what? Everybody stay at home again, right? Then everybody that's in the Wood Park School District would get a telecommuting agreement. Yeah. So that's what that comes down to. So it's the confusing piece is this is not to protect the vulnerable. It might. It's not the purpose of it. This is to allow those people who can work from home and do their job to stay at home. In fact, this probably continues on long after COVID's done. There'd be no reason for it not to.
I don't want this to sound bad, but I just, in a telecommuting agreement like that, I know some of the concerns come up of that people say, yeah, I want to telecommute.
Mm-hmm.
And there are telecommuting so that they can take care of their kids at home and work. So, and that's a good reason why you might have to telecommute. But if you're not able to do your job 100% because you're caring for your children as well, is that something you guys have just thought about?
Yeah, absolutely. If you cannot reasonably complete your duties in that time, or you're not able to because you have other commitments, then we can't do a telecommuting.
It's really interesting on the business world how some of these things are happening, and we're seeing it all the time. Even downtown, people are even giving up rental spaces for their businesses because they realize things can happen at home. And Google told all their folks, don't worry about coming back to July 1, just do your job at home. And so it's a whole new world out there. It's pretty hard to teach second grade live in person from home.
Yeah.
So, just a little side note on the telecommuting thing. This is just something humorous. It doesn't really mean anything other than one of the parts of the agreement is that you have to identify the specific place that you'll be working from in your house, right? So you can't just say, I'm going to telecommute from home. You literally have to say, my workspace is my kitchen table or my and when I first saw that, I was like, what? That is so silly. Until I read further on the legal pieces of it, and it all has to do with tracking down workers' comp issues. There it is. So it was really funny when I first read it. I thought that was ridiculous, but then, you know how it is, right? When you get down to all those legal pieces, all that, oh my gosh, it was like, holy cow. Then I understood it. That's just a sidebar. It's kind of fun.
I had a crab on the beach by my toe.
That's what I said. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
So.
And a lot of those telecommuting agreements prior to COVID, in the business situation, one of the key components is you may not have your children at home with you.
Yeah.
And now I'm sure all that has changed, but that was a pretty, to answer your question, it's a pretty common clause.
It was, yeah.
And what about any financial assistance for having a home office? Are you guys?
So funny that you mentioned that. We haven't talked about a plan per se to help set up the home office, but there is a legal part of the language of the agreement that we say we're not tax advisors. You want to know what that looks like financially, please consult a tax advisor.
It was one thing that we had tossed around as an idea early on when we generated our list of stuff for the CARES Act funds, thinking about Google. All those people got $1,000 to work on to invest in a home office. But frankly, all the other needs for those dollars to kind of supersede. So it's in our list as a whole, but it's not something we can probably do.
It's amazing how quick that money gets set aside for different things, whether it be air purifiers or transportation or whatever it is. It's really quick.
I was gonna ask, pivot points or break even on what's an advantage to the accommodation of having the staff here versus the avoiding them here?
Well, I think the very first thing to put out there is that the idea is to limit the number, as you can, to limit the number of people who are actually in a building to be exposed or to expose others, right? So I don't know that there's a business model that says it's a break-even point from, because like Steve said, a second grade teacher, that might be very difficult to do. A human resource director, they might be able to do it at home. He's not going to, but that's something like that, right? So I don't know that there's the cost analysis in that piece, but the idea is to reduce the amount of people as possible. And to that end, some teachers who have been assigned remote working positions in their buildings may also come back and look at a telecommuting agreement, right? Because maybe their remote teaching position can be done from home. So, and if they can, great. Then on we go.
Well, for our family camp program, we thank the people that did come and we thank the people that didn't, because we would have had to automatically send a portion of them anyway. So they kind of did the job for us. But
That's a good question, because I was wondering from a parent's perspective, if you could go either way with your child, like your child was, I don't really care if I go in or I don't go in. If we would encourage them then not to come in for a while, just so that you don't have as many kids coming back, but I don't know. Everyone wants to come back in, most of the people, but
Well, yeah. I know my dad, no matter what I would have said, you're going in, you're going in, and you stay in all night. So.
And I think in general, the kids do better when they're in school. So I know that there were a lot of, not all, some kids did just fine in remote, but for a lot of kids, it's better when they're in school.
Yeah.
The remote though that we're doing this year is not the same as it was last spring. So it is going to be more intensive. It's going to be more, a lot more, just with higher accountability and higher, expectations than what we did in the spring, which was trying to figure it all out and get through the year.
Right. And just to share with you, I'm sorry, Gordon.
Oh, well, no, just on that delightful topic. Yeah, just in terms of picking between remote or the online, any wisdom or data that we have to necessarily offer folks to say, or what your students' better learning is, anyway, to steer that kid in the right direction.
Yeah, we actually did, as part of the ambassadors and coaches job, sit down and look at the situation, the scenario, and kind of coach them into what would work best for them. Our main thing is we just wanted them with us. And so if it was a home doing synchronous learning, great. If it's asynchronous, fine. We just want you to be a part of us. And so that that was part of their jobs to coach them through that. Some of them may definitely be. Maybe a situation where we've got terrible asthma. If I catch something, I'm in big trouble. And so asynchronous makes a whole lot more sense. And so that's kind of where we would, that's one of the reasons for the coaches.
And the testing for this, I mean, I was just curious even about last spring, it's like, so how did we feel? Like, did we get a B or a C or a D? Not we, but in terms of their academic, and what will that look like this semester?
I know that most teachers are in the mindset that they're going to have to do a lot of extra work at the beginning of the school year, that they've really got to move, spend time reviewing and getting kids kind of back in the saddle, so to speak. There's been a lot, I've been in meetings all week long, and that's really a big piece of kind of where some of the staff are at. It's like, yeah, we got to kind of see where they're at and then move on. We are still going to try to do all of our map testing, and we've got some state, local, like our dibbles and map testing, those kinds of things. We're hoping that with our soft start, we'll be able to, even the kids that are going out remote, that we'll be able to get a lot of that done, so we can at least get a quick read on where they are the first day or two of school. And then we have makeup, SATs, and PSATs coming up in September, and then makeup days October. So those will be really interesting. We're not quite sure what those are going to look like. It is optional, but those would be for the juniors and seniors who would have been sophomores and juniors last year and would have had those particular tests. The state did give us some optional days for that. So those are kind of the testing things that are on the horizon, and everything else is all the dates are set, but all the rest of it is for next spring, and everybody's just keeping their fingers crossed that we'll be back. We'll see.
Well, last piece will be God bless those folks in that position. Thank you. And then the piece of the impacts. So we've got these different stages. So how high or low is that bar when, as a district, we decide it's 2, it's 3, how much dancing do they, not dancing, anyway, how much response or how much burden is there to say, oh, we're on this half, we need to do this online, oh, in the classroom. That just maybe some sense of what that looks like when that decision is made.
If I went back from, let's say we go to 3, that's not going to be terrible hard because we're prepared for kids to come back. Dropping back to 2 is a different animal, and because now we're telling some kids they can't come, and we'll, our high risk kids they have to come, our special needs kids. So going back the other direction is more difficult.
And you're talking to the kids, I was mentioning the teachers.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Jump, in terms of, just like last spring. Okay, whoops, we're not in the classroom anymore. Here we go.
So a lot, when we ask to have those extra days, we start a little later, a lot of that is spending time preparing for that, because we assume at some point we're going to be in that situation. I hope we're wrong, but we assume we're going to be. So part of that is preparing.
But we already have teachers, I sat in a meeting this afternoon, teachers that thought here's what I'm teaching all summer long, here's what I'm teaching this year. But when we looked at who registered, who wanted online, who wanted remote, who's going to be here, how many do we have in the building? And so the one meeting that I had, there was a team of 3 teachers, and one of them was going to have to jump and do a combo class that was 2 grade levels out of where they thought they were going to be teaching. And so there was a teacher that said, I'll do it. And, so she found out this morning, or this afternoon, really, at 3 o'clock this afternoon, that she's not going to be doing what she thought she was going to be doing all summer long. And, it's really, we have incredible staff, and they know we're not the only ones in this boat, but we've just been saying flexibility, flexibility, flexibility. We've got kids that are doing remote, like we might have a remote teacher, and they're teaching kindergarten kids from all 3 schools. So instead of having that teacher having Gateway kids, Columbine kids, Summit kids, they got a kindergarten class that's made up of kids from all 3 of those schools. So you know what, it's just a scramble right now. Principals are looking at who registered, who wants this, who wants that, are we matching teachers in there? And teachers are being incredibly flexible. They're stepping up to the plate and saying, I'll move to that, I'll do that. And they just know that we're just in a different situation.
They truly are amazing. Our staff lead, I've had a meeting with area superintendents this morning, and teachers are quitting all over the place. Ours are not. Ours are here to see, hear, and love kids, man. I'm just so impressed with our crew that's hanging in there. They're trusting us to try to do what's best for them, keep them safe, make those adjustments, and so we've just not had that. And they're up a creek down the hill in some of those districts.
No, those are good questions. And forgive me if you already answered this, but because you were talking a little bit about the testing. But is the state are they gonna require testing this year?
Who knows? Because the majority of the testing won't be until April. So we're a long ways off from that. And what they have done is they have pushed back some of their mandates and some of the, as I said, I had the best July I've had in, I can't even remember when, because I didn't have any scores that came in. They're like downloading those and looking at all the scores, and we didn't have any scores this year. It was, like I said, it was kind of a nice July.
Remember last year we said Maddie had to have a certain score to be able to graduate on an assessment? That got put on hold.
So, the state is trying. It's interesting though, because there are a lot of things that are legislatively, put into the legislature. And so it's not so easy for CDE to just say, oh, don't worry about that. They got to go through a whole procedure in order to relax some of the things that we do have out there. But they're doing their best to just, because we're all in this scramble of trying to figure things out. And, every time you do make a decision, it impacts 10 other things that you never even thought of. And so that's what every district's going through right now. But as far as testing, as far as official state testing, who knows? That's April. And, they called it off last year, literally like weeks before we were ready to go. So I think they'll wait and see what it looks like. And if most kids are back in, or if there's a way to do it. Just last year, it was just, there's no way we could do it, so.
Well, a lot of the colleges are getting rid of the SAT requirements too.
Yeah, because, well, and kids now that are applying, it's like, they don't have those scores because, and that's why there is an optional this fall for kids. It's not required, but if they want to, the state is offering that. But even then, okay, where are we gonna do it? And we've got, some of the safety and the security things are not safe to be able to do. So we got to figure out how to manage all of that.
And it's kind of a really neat thing. The admissions offices all over the country are working on setting up those criteria, and they're looking at grit. They're looking at character issues. They're looking at SAT, ACT is that's off. They're looking at their writing ability, their the ability to be able to work together, to be able to work collaboratively, and all those things. They're trying to find ways to measure those things to be able to see whether it's a good fit. And so, since they can't write the essay on the SAT, they're saying send us your best work, and that's what they're looking at. So, the chance of them going back to the SAT and ACT once they get this developed, I don't think it's very good. That's going to be.
Well, that's a federal requirement though too. So we do have the feds would have to change, because a lot of our testing is based on the federal law. We have to test in certain grades at certain levels and certain kinds of things. So I'm not sure that a state can make that decision unless the feds relax the testing.
But the colleges can.
The colleges could.
Yeah. And are. Right.
Okay.
Dale, I appreciate it. Thank you. He's worked really hard on this, and I worry about it.
Thank you.
He's working real hard. Yeah.
That is definitely an amazing work that's gone into that. Are there any further questions regarding the reopening before we move on?
What's the date of making that call for the level?
But, so we're going to be that level too. We're going to be with the plan starting off those first 2 weeks.
Okay, so
The stuff that we described went out in the email, and then on this sheet, that's what we're going to do the first 2 weeks. What we'll do is we'll look at that rolling 2-week number as we get into that first week, be able to kind of determine where we're going to be after Labor Day.
So you'll have like a week notice, or 2 weeks notice or something for families?
Yep. About a week and a half.
So this is just a small little logistical detail question I have about delivering food.
Yes.
You have staff that are going to be doing that? Do you have?
Our food company does that, and they just did a wonderful job all summer long. And in fact, we used Sean some this summer because Sean was still on contract for a while,
Right.
And it wasn't like he was guarding the schools, and so Sean went out and helped us deliver. They have people that can do that though, and it helps them because that gets their numbers up as well. Yeah, Chartwell's has been really impressive.
And Steve, what's the message we should tell those parents that if we're in a level where they cannot have their kids return into the building, and they want that exception to try to get their child in, should they just talk to their counselor, or who should they talk to?
You know, so we have it set up, we have the criteria set up, but then yesterday as we were speaking with elementary, one of the things that we're looking at is allowing those situations where they've got to go, and they need to visit that administrator. And you know, this is a new game for us. And so if we're going to err, we'll probably err in their favor, you know. And so it's and we're going to make some errors, guarantee it. But we'll have some successes as well. So, and we'll learn from those errors.
I just like to comment and just, I mean, someone already said this, but I think that the work that all of you have done, administration has done on this planning has been really impressive. And I haven't seen a lot of the other schools and what they've done, but I don't feel it's been quite as organized as what we have here. I think there's been good communication and it's clear organization, and it makes me feel like we've got our ducks to row and we're doing our best to plan for whatever might happen.
We've got a wonderful team that are really good at details.
I just wanted to give kudos. I think that the message out in the community is that as well. People are scared and worried, but there's a lot of...
You know, this crew here, Tina, if you're watching, you know, I mean, it's really...
And I think it's great because it accommodates a lot of the parents and the students, and I'm with Corbin when he mentioned this too. My biggest concern, honestly, is the staff and how are they going to manage all of this? Because I'm sure it's behind the scenes, it's a lot crazier than it's probably it seems.
It is.
So that's probably my biggest concern. Just how it all plays out.
I don't know how many of you guys saw Neil's celebration of life. They talked about how Neil looked at baseball, and let's keep it simple, you know. And if we're here, we're here. We'll do the best we can under the circumstances. Keep it simple as we can. You know, there's a whole lot of things to it in the background we have to be prepared for, but up front, you know, it's teaching and learning, and we'll try to set up scenarios so that can take place. Make sure that our environment set up so that can take place, whether it be at home or here. And so I get to go, starting tomorrow, I normally do a convocation. We're going to do 5 of them. And actually closer to 10. But when we split them in half. And when we, that'll be part of the message is, guys, we're okay. We're going to make it through this thing. It's new. We're going to have really great success. And we're going to do some things we wish we hadn't done before. We'll learn from it, and it's okay. And that's how you learn. And so we're going to be fine. And I just want to make sure I talk people off the ledge. And I noticed today I was reading the paper. I don't think they knew how to do the proper punctuation on Philippians 4, 6, and 7. 4, 6, 7. Where'd 5 go? You know, but to not worry and to be able to have that peace of mind, folks. We're going to be okay. We really are.
So that brings me to a question about the staff wellness program that was running last year, and then that got
we're back with
sidelined, and then it came back online. Is that correct? So Penny's going to still be working with that, or
absolutely
other staff. So
Penny's going to be rocking and rolling.
So there's a proactive kind of concerted effort to provide opportunities for faculty to just experience some wellness.
Yes.
Some coaching.
She's going to be
great,
integral. And we're very fortunate we got that money, because we know we're going to be 1.6 down, and then to have that, to be able to take that chunk of change, to be able to help with that is huge. And it helped us with some other scenarios as well, but it really having her there is huge.
Great.
Now it's got a big, in September we'll come back and we'll start talking about setting up committees to look at cuts for the coming year, because we know we're going to. And you know, you have to determine all those things. Is that something that is on the block or not? You know, and those are, we've got some tough decisions coming. I know we want to go back and look at the pillars, and we want to go and we want to look at what we need to do to be successful for our kids with a lot less money. And so starting in September, we'll start seriously talking about that and how we set that up and the involvement we have in the community and you guys and the staff lead and making those things happen.
All right. Any other last? Hearing none, we'll move on to, so there are no board action items and reports. WPEA is not here, so next is superintendent's report.
All right. Guys, our WPSD family has been amazing this summer with all the work they've done to put together what you've heard today. Our maintenance, our custodial crew has been out there. What I love is attention to detail. They're around there, they're painting a little green on everything. I love that. It's wonderful, you know, and our meetings we've had, the documents that everybody's put together, it's just great to see minds come together, hearts come together, and watch things happen. So just couldn't love those guys enough. It's wonderful. Upcoming dates, we don't have a lot of games, we don't have a lot of homecomings, we don't have a lot of anything coming up except board meetings. So that's kind of where we are. And the priorities, some of the things that we look at the minutia. One of the things I've been thinking about all summer long is, my life, I kind of have the priority as an educator is number one, safety. Well, I had to remind myself that every now and then because I really want the kids back, and the safety is number one. Two is courtesy, though. And that's where it comes in with those parents. And we've got to be as courteous as possible, not only to our staff and our students, but to the parents and our community. And three is that teaching and learning. That teaching and learning is we can do that a whole lot better if we're good at 1 and 2. And then efficiency is important, but it comes after teaching and learning. And so I've been trying to keep those in my mind all along as we're making those decisions. As I usually sit over there about what Corbin does. We're thinking those 4 things that keep rolling through my mind all the time, and it's so easy to forget. Our final product, I think, has lived up to this, and we're pretty good with that. Music and art. Unfortunately, we've added more help with music and art to start a school year, and the cool thing is they're Woodland Park kids. So not only is the first music teacher we hired Woodland Park, we got more Woodland Park kids coming in, and they're very excited about that. And I love to have those folks. As you guys and I explained last time, I think we're together that the marching band thing canceled all the marching band, and we're sticking with organizations that are actually having their activities, like the High School Activity Association. Maybe this spring they decide to go. We got the frozen tundra. If that's the case, let's find a way to do it. Let's go. And if we have 3 days to start basketball season, maybe if we have 2 weeks, we can start marching band season. But this fall we won't have that. But I love the fact that we have those people in there and they're excited about it and they're ready to roll. Opening, I've covered most of that. And please know that this is fluid. We're going to find some things that work and don't work, and we're going to have to change. And we'll try to keep you in the loop on that. But we know, the best laid plans of men don't always do what you think they want to do. And that's part of life.
Life got easier for me when I figured plans have the shelf life of a gallon of milk right now.
Yeah, that is true though. I mean, because we started out a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago with something. We had to lock it down.
And how much investment do you put in them? I mean, I feel like a dog.
Yeah. And so, like you say, when do you find out? Well, we hope about 10 days prior, but who knows. Sports and activities, of course, all that stuff's been moved back except for cross country, softball, and golf. But we're excited to get to those things. Even the phase 4, we're starting to reintroduce some of our other clubs and activities start to happen. That if you're in middle school, I was 18 years as a middle school principal, and one of the driving forces behind what we did were our clubs and activities. And the kids, if you find a niche for a kid in the school, they're going to do well. And right now, the niches have been all pushed aside, and so I'm anxious to get back in there and get things going. But right now, we just aren't. So we're going to have to really pay attention to make sure every kid's seen, heard, and loved through what we have available right now. And then I want to share a little bit about Neil. You know, he's going to be drastically missed. And, you know, I was up in the balcony the other day with my phone checking to make sure that we were able to get going, and it was wonderful. It was beautiful. If you had a chance to watch it, the 7 speakers, I thought did a beautiful job and laid out and really did a tribute to him. But it was a trigger for this guy. And you know, whether he was serving as our baseball coach or volunteer for everything, or simply being a great friend, he was huge. And so when he put it down that we in his memorial that he would like to have money to be able to fix up the fields, the baseball fields in particular, to be able to improve those. So there's money coming in for that, the memorial, but we're running that through our Woodland Park School District Foundation. And I know this morning, Kiwanis, we threw in another $500. I mean, we you know, that's good for kids. And Neil was good for kids and good for the community. And he had a life that was well lived. And it looks like in November, it looks like that they'll be changing the names of those fields to Neil Levy. So I'm excited about that. We go watch ball games at Levy Field. Be special. Will be special. Anyway, that's my report. Any questions for me?
I just wanted to add to that if I could. I can do it. Because that was going to be part of my board report, but since you brought this up, I just wanted to, as a board, also a lot of things that you said, you know, Neil had such an impact on all the students, so many students in this district, and adults. And I'm one of them, and I know many people in this room. He had a huge impact on. He was in our task force, helped us with that. I mean, whatever he could do to help the school district, he was always supportive. When he became mayor, he brought us together. And I think that was brought up in the speech that was done by Joe, that he really tried to bring the school district together with the city, which we want to continue to do and build on that legacy. But he just touched a lot of people, but as our board, he was very, very supportive to all of us as long as I've been here. So I just wanted to mention that as well.
So many things we had no idea he was doing.
Right.
That he never asked for a penny for. Right. And you know, when Neil, he always made you feel like you were his best friend, and he would, and when he said "I love you," he meant it.
And he also, and I'm sorry, I just want to go on a little bit more, but the other thing I just wanted to tell you from a personal perspective as a board or a community member, he also made us accountable. So he wasn't always oh, it's all good. He was, you know, he was straight. He said things, you know, from on his sleeve, and he let you know what he felt about something, but he had integrity, and that's what I think I loved about him the most, is that he was supportive, but he had integrity. And we had many conversations where he challenged me and kept me accountable for things. And so I just think he's had a huge impact on our school district.
For being a guy of not huge stature, was a giant.
Yeah. He will be missed. So we're grateful to have him. We did. So
the city council did a nice job the other night, by the way, of memorializing him as they started their meeting.
So I'm hoping there's going to be bumper stickers coming out that says "Live like Neil." You guys?
Oh, yeah. Put them on people's car you select.
Yeah. Okay, did you have anything else?
I did not.
Okay. Well, any other board reports? Any board reports?
I had a couple little teeny questions. Can I ask?
Yeah.
The panther out front, is it back out there?
It's going to come.
Okay. Just wanted to.
Yeah, you see how nice that is out there now? That'll last another 30 years. So.
Yeah, I was hoping that we were bringing that back, but I didn't know it's been painted over so many years.
No. We got to bring that thing back, but we just got to figure out exactly how we want to put it up there. I think they have the idea, they just have to do it.
Okay, and then the only other comment I had is the 2 signs. We got 2 new signs.
Yeah,
I wonder when
ready to
those
go
are
with
going to
them.
be up and running. Are those?
Real close to be able to put things on there and ready to go. So I'm excited about that too. And you know, we're gonna miss Stacy. Stacy was wonderful, and I love her dearly. But and that was one of her things. And so we're kind of dividing up duties and conquering and dividing, realizing we have that 1.6 million loss and this year. So, but one of those is the signs. I think between the schools and Kelly and me and whoever, we'll put stuff out there. Let us know when we misspell things.
I'm a little afraid if you have access to that.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I don't want access to that bad boy. Joke of the day.
Yeah. Okay. If that is it, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Austin,
All right.
Dottie.
Aye.
Graver.
Aye.
Huber.
Aye.
Lucky.
Aye.
Linda, Brian, Dale, thank you guys.
Yes, thank you so much. And